first time in franchise history, the Eagles go to 8-0. Miles Sanders with the first touchdown of the night. Kenny Gainwell follows him in for touchdown number 2. How about the passing game, huh? Jalen Hurts finds his guy, A.J. Brown, who used to catch touchdowns against the Texans. And how about that defense? C.J. Gardner-Johnson, his 4th straight game with an interception, keeping those quarterbacks on their toes. And then the big man, Dallas Goedert, what a night, 100 yards for the tight end. And that's a touchdown for him as well. Welcome to the Postgame Show, presented by Ricoh. I'm Gabriella DiGiovanni, joined by Fran Duffy and Ike Reese. Ike.
Victory! Woo!
Second one in 5 days. We're going to make sure you're all right.
I tell you, I'm getting used to this. It doesn't mean I don't get lightheaded when I do it, though. Yes.
I thought it's a little later of a night. Maybe it'll be a little weaker. Nope, you didn't disappoint.
Well, that was probably an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay.
You can't go full bore.
Yeah, I couldn't go full there.
Okay.
But the victory, nonetheless. Great job tonight.
No question.
Yeah, the first half, the Texans played a good game. Look, they had nothing to lose, and they were playing super free, right? They went into the half tied 14-14. The Eagles pulled away in the second half. But let's dissect the first half to start. That first quarter, there was just about, 2.5 drives. Both of those first drives were scoring drives for both teams. The way the Eagles were able to really get things going on the ground was quite impressive.
Yeah, you could tell that the Eagles came into this game with the mindset of running the football, establishing that. Derrick Henry last week against this Texans defense, over 200 yards and a couple of touchdowns. So you knew that would be a great formula for success against this 2-shell-high defense with a light box. Eagles come out and do that. They mixed in some passing game there just to let you know if we want to throw the ball in there, we can certainly hit you in that, what is it called, friend? The turkey hole?
Turkey hole.
Yes, right behind the corner, in front of the safety. They were able to do that as well. I thought Jalen operated the game. That first drive, 18 plays.
Yep.
What was it? Almost, I can't think of the time of possession on
18
that plays.
plays. It was 8 minutes and 4 seconds.
Yes, over
yards.
8 minutes. I mean, that's how you come out. Short week. You knew this offensive line was there to punish that Houston Texans defensive front. Great job.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that when you look at this team, look, you're going to get every other team's best shot. Every single week you come out onto the football field. And, you've heard Ike say it on a weekly basis. You'll hear every coach, every player say it, that you are always going to face a test every time you step on the field in an NFL game. So, look, Houston came out. Give them credit. They went on a nice long drive to start things off. 9-10 play drive. They dinked and dunked their way down the field. They hit on a double move. They punched it into the end zone. Eagles are able to keep them off the board, force 2 punts there. But this is a 14-14 game going into halftime. But it's funny how narratives can kind of switch a little bit. All the talk the first 7 games was all about first half, second half. Well, here in this game, the Eagles outscoring Houston 15-3. After a tight game in the first half, the Eagles pull away here in the last 2 quarters.
We knew the big thing for the Eagles was going to be to get things going on the ground, since the Texans defense is league worst in rushing defense. Well, Miles Sanders, 17 carries for 93 yards and a touchdown. Not only do the numbers prove how well he played tonight, but there's just something different in the way he's been running the past few weeks.
I've been loving watching Miles run the ball all year long. And, he's in his 4th year. I think he's playing his best brand of football. I mean, he's running tough. He's breaking tackles. He's even making guys miss in the hole. Haven't seen the big explosive run that we've become accustomed to watching Miles do. But see, the thing about the difference in that is he looked for that explosive run in years past, and he wouldn't have as many of the intermediate carries that a running back typically gets because he's looking for the big play, and sometimes it will work out for him. This year, I think he's staying with the running schemes. He's staying with the blocking, and if it leads to only 3 or 4 yards, that's fine. That's called being patient, because usually he's going to break one for 15 or 20 yards. That's why his numbers at the end of the day are still very good. He's usually over 5 yards per carry. Miles Sanders playing his best football of his career.
Yeah, I said that to Ella as we were watching. It was like, it wasn't just the 25-yard run or the 18-yard run. It's not those plays that get me excited about what we're seeing from Miles, but it's the 1st and 10 plus 6. It's the 2nd and 5 plus 4. Those are the ones that he didn't always make early in his career. And here this year, you're seeing a much more decisive Miles Sanders, a guy that's much more willing to deal with contact, play through contact. We said that last week going into that Steelers game, a career-high yards after contact coming into that game against the Steelers. Assuming those numbers are going to rise after tonight. We'll look back on that later this week. But I think when you look at Miles, the way that he's running, you've got to be excited. I know he didn't hit the century mark, but 17 carries. Not all of them are going to be perfect. perfect, but I thought you saw really good things there from number 26.
Then you mix in Kenny Gainwell, just 4 carries for 22 yards, but they were crucial yards that he gained. I kind of like the way that they use him. It's in those crucial situations when they're in the red zone, he gets that touchdown. They use him in such an intentional way.
Yeah, and Kenny has to do a great job of taking advantage of these opportunities when he gets them. You don't want to show tendencies where you realize every time 14's in the game, it's either going to be an outside run or some type of pass.
Yep.
So you got to be able to run the ball in between the tackles with Kenny at times. And I think over the last couple of weeks, he's shown that he has the ability to do that.
And he's the hurry-up back as well. So when they go hurry-up, 2-minute drill, we saw that at the end of the first half. He's going to be in there because he's also got that pass-catching ability and also pass protection as well. He's really come a long way since his college days to now in pass protection. Last week, he had a crucial block on one of those A.J. Brown touchdowns against the Steelers. And so Kenny Gainwell absolutely has a very defined role in this offense.
As we keep breaking things down, make sure to head to the Facebook comments for our Ask Ike segment. You can ask him any questions, and we will air them right here on the show. And Ike will answer them to the best of his ability.
Best I can.
Yes. All right, let's take a look at the passing game, right? Going into this game, we kind of thought, all right, last week was A.J. Brown's game. What's it going to be tonight? It is a big opportunity for Devontae Smith. Who will it be? It was Dallas Goedert, 100 yards on the day and a touchdown. He's been critical in every game, but he's a quiet impact player. But tonight, there was nothing quiet about him.
No, I thought he was arguably the best weapon on the offensive side of the ball if you want to exclude Jalen as the quarterback. But you look at the skill position guys, you knew going up against this Tampa 2 defense that Lovey likes to run, there's going to be holes either in the middle of the defense if that linebacker is not dropping back playing sort of that cover 3, or the 7 routes that you saw Dallas able to run right behind the corner and in front of the safeties there. We call it the turkey hole. And Jalen was very comfortable making sure he got the ball out there to Dallas. Dallas is a huge target, so he has the huge catch radius. And I like the fact they got him in the tight end screen again. Very underrated, running the ball after he catches it, on pace for 1,000 yards this year. Was glad to see him get in the end zone as well.
And came up in pivotal moments. There was that drive, end of third quarter, or going into the fourth quarter. He had 5 catches, 4 of them for first downs, including a touchdown, 49 yards on that drive to extend that lead and really kind of cement this victory. Dallas Goedert coming up big here against the Texans.
Averaging 12.5 yards per catch. We know part of his game, a big part of his game, is the yards after the catch. But the way you saw him, you talk about patience, he was very patient in kind of navigating the secondary once he got the ball in his hands. On the broadcast, they were saying, oh, he's right up there with the Kittles and the Kelseys of the world. But they kind of were trying to put that conversation to rest and just saying he's one of them.
No, he definitely is.
Yes.
I mean, he is easily one of the best 3 tight ends in all of football. You think about his ability to play in the run game and passing game. You know, we have these terms that we use in this league. Either you're a pass-catching tight end or you're a blocking tight end. But then you have the rare tight ends that is the complete package, and that's what Dallas Goedert is. He has that tall, sort of slender frame, but he surprises you with how strong he is and his willingness to block at the end of the line. He is just as important as those offensive linemen in the run game because he's willing to stick his head in there and do the dirty work, but he also has the ability to affect the passing game down the field after he catches the ball. And to me, he should be a huge red zone target where he gets the ball even more down there.
Yeah, you can count on one hand how many guys can make an impact the way that Dallas Goedert does on this offense. So important, both run game and pass game. And I thought here in this one against the Texans, that really showed its head.
Jalen Hurts, let's dive in, right? 21 for 27, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns. Overall, he, for the most part, kept the football very well protected. Obviously, there was that strip sack by Steven Nelson. But other than that, still playing very clean football. But what I thought was really interesting tonight was the way that he used so many of his weapons. Zach Pascal with a catch, Jack Stoll with a catch. It's the creativity about this offense that is still making them so hard for opposing defenses to get after.
Yeah, he deserves all the credit in the world for being able to operate this offense really with the efficiency that he works with. He rarely puts the ball in harm's way. Give Houston credit. They got to him a couple times, got the ball out of there with the 1 sack. But for the most part, I like the design of this offense. Shane Steichen, as a young kid, say it was in his bag tonight, right? He was in his bag. Everything he dialed up seemingly worked. He had that Houston Texans defense on his heels, especially when they couldn't get to the quarterback. And Jalen has become so masterful at running the RPO when he needs to, and even when he's back there dropping back. I'm starting to see him be able to scan the field and get through his progressions and deliver the ball with confidence. He's operating the offense as if he has a full understanding of what everybody's supposed to do in the offense. And the next thing he's doing is understanding what the defense is trying to do to him.
Yeah, two things. First, you are in your bag for saying he's in his bag. Let's let that aside. Number two, yeah, exactly. Number two, I think when you look at Jalen too, I mean the ability to fight through adversity. Because look, he put the ball on the ground a couple of times. He took some sacks. He was pressured more in this game than what we've seen so far this year. But he was able to fight through that, make some throws when needed. He had a couple of great scrambles in this game. That one extended the drive late as well in the fourth quarter. That was a big-time scramble on 2nd and short, picking up the 5-6 yards. So I think looking at Jalen Hurts, his ability to be a playmaker and a distributor in this offense is big time. You know, that's a throw over the middle of the field to A.J. Brown. You saw him working the perimeter. Obviously, he runs this RPO game so well. And so to me, when you look at Jalen Hurts and the way that he can impact defenses on a weekly basis, it's a lot to get ready for. What was the quote from A.J. Brown? A triple threat at the position. That's what Jalen Hurts is in this offense right now.
Yeah, it was interesting. So post-game last week, Jalen Hurts said that he was a triple threat quarterback, incorporating his mind alongside those legs and that arm. So I followed up and I asked him about that this week. And then I asked A.J. Brown if that benefits him as a receiver when you have a quarterback who understands the importance of using your mind in the game of football. And he said it does, but sometimes it hurts us because I just want him to relax. He goes, sometimes I look at him and I'm like, bro, just look back and be proud of what you're doing.
Right.
And I think that balance between the two is so interesting because they have great chemistry. Obviously, they're such a successful duo so far in the NFL, but Jalen's very serious and he takes this very seriously. So to have a receiver who's kind of like, dude, just relax.
Yeah, and you need a buddy, a friend who isn't afraid to tell you that and can bring that laughter out of you. I like the fact that Jalen is very serious and that he is businesslike, right? But there has to be a time where you kind of let your hair down a little bit and the guys can see your personality. And it always takes that one or two guys that sort of knows you better than everyone else to be able to know which buttons to push to get that out of you.
I think I know the answer to this question, but which guy were you?
Well, no, I was the guy that was always trying to push buttons to get people to.
Yeah. Shocking.
That
is breaking news here on the show.
You know what I mean? Yes. What do you expect, man? Lighten up around it. That was Dalk. You know, Dalk was the intense guy that it's like, dude, you got to lighten up a little bit around here. You know it.
You need that level balance. To me, I think that's the mindset that this team has in terms of, look, we're going to take every single day as it comes, get better every single day. All those things we hear him say weekly in his post-game press conference when he meets the media during the week. That's how he lives his life, and that's how he leads this team.
Well, his number one fan was in the stands tonight, and that was Mama Hurts. She was taking to Twitter all night. We were loving what she was posting. She made this sign that she brought to the game that said, "Welcome home, son." I think she had a few signs. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, that was her shot. She tweeted this photo out of A.J. Brown on the sideline. So A.J. Brown is more than just friends with Jalen, right?
Family.
And she also posted this one, Hurts, don't it? I like it. She said, y'all know I couldn't resist. And who knows where she got this shirt. She also tweeted this out. That's pretty cool. Has to be a crazy moment to watch your son come back and play as an NFL quarterback in the town that you raised him.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to do that in my final year down in Atlanta. We played in Cincinnati. It's the only time I'd ever played in Cincinnati. My career, a lot of tickets. It cost me, but I certainly was more than happy to do it. You know, I had a lot of nephews and nieces and little cousins that don't have the ability to travel to come see me play. So to be able to get tickets at home is great because, you know, you're the guy in the family that all the relatives are telling the young kids about, you know, and they're telling them about when he was a young kid and how they could be just like their big cousin or their uncle Jalen and watching what he's doing. So to have all of them at the game had to be a proud moment for Mom. Listen, Mom is the one who gets all the bragging rights at home. That's my baby. That's my baby. So it had to be a proud moment for her.
All right, it was a big day for Miles Sanders. Now we'll hear from him at the podium.
Please take it easy on me today, guys.
All right, we'll open it up for questions. Miles, how tough was it on a short week to come down here 1,500 miles away and get that 8th win?
Thursday, I think everybody can say that Thursday night games it's not everybody's favorite. Yeah, it's prime time, but it is a short weekend. It's a quick turnaround depending on how you come out the last game, you got to focus on that and try to take care of your body as much as you can to get ready for Thursday. But our whole team was pretty much fine after the last week's game. But, yeah, it means a lot to, turn around, come, about 3-hour flight and, get a W, get our 8th W if we make franchise history today.
That opening drive, what was the significance of going 18 plays there?
Say that again.
18 plays there. What was working, and what did that do for you guys when you had that long drive to start the game?
Yeah, that was that's what we used. That's what we try to do. Just try to. We saw that they were trying to run the ball to run the clock out. So we only had about 3 drives, I think, the first half, and we were just trying to control the clock as well too. Just trying to be efficient as possible and drive down the field and make a statement.
This was the first time I think the team hasn't held the lead at halftime. Was there any anything urgent in the locker room at the half? Is there any sense of what's coming out?
We just had to communicate. We just had to communicate better. I think that was probably the only problem in the first half. A lot of miscommunication, which made our plays, look crazy at times. But yeah, we embraced it though. We embraced it. We were down before, and we were just trying to get our mojo back, really, at halftime. That's all we talked about. We didn't really talk about nothing but communication. Just communicate out there, and we'll get the job done.
You guys are 8-0 for the first time in franchise history. I know it's not the goal to go 8-0, but you have to be happy with where you are, and how does that make you feel right now and as a team? Yeah,
it's a blessing. Honestly, it's a blessing. It's not easy to win in this league. Happy that we got 8 out the way, and all we're trying to do, we're on the bigger and better things still, but we're still trying to take it one game at a time. We still got a long season, long rest of the season, and a division game coming up. So we got a lot of stuff that we got to focus on more than being 8-0. So.
Did Jalen seem any different coming home?
No, not really. You can't read that guy, man. He's cool, steady, calm, collected, man. That's how he always is.
All good? Thanks, man.
Oh, wow. Shout out to the O-line. Shout out to Coach Stout and the defense. Yes, sir.
Shout out to Coach Stout. Jeff Stoutland University, if you will. Let's talk about the offensive line a little bit. Jordan Mailata struggled at times on the left side of the ball. He's going to have games where that happens. You have to remember this is only his 2nd year as a full-time starting left tackle in the National Football League. So when you are coaching a guy like Jordan Mailata, what are the teaching points in today's performance? How can he watch the film and clean some of those things up?
Well, listen, if you're going up against a speed guy, really for me, it's all about your first step, being able to get back and get in an angle where you can stay in front of the guy, right? Because that's, as a defensive end, that's what you want. You want to get to the edge of the offensive lineman. That way you can bend around him. And Jordan is more than athletic enough to be able to do it.
Right.
We know Jordan's one of the best left tackles in football. I just wonder if he was getting off the ball well enough. Meaning, that first step back, is he getting back? Is he getting deep enough to where he feels comfortable that he can protect the inside and the outside? Far be it from me to step on Coach Stoutland University's teaching points, but I wouldn't be shocked if Mailata and Coach Stoutland will be on the plane tonight watching a lot of this stuff, and it's something Jordan will certainly have in his mind to get better at and be ready next week.
Yeah, and there's a reason why Jerry Hughes has been a starter in the NFL for a decade plus. He came into the league when Ike was still playing. He has been in the NFL for a long time. He's been a productive player, former first-round pick coming out of TCU, and so he's going to beat a younger tackle like Jordan Mailata. He won inside. He actually beat Lane Johnson. Nearly had a sack fumble late in the game as well on the final drive. So I think when you look at Jerry Hughes, there's a reason why he's been one of the craftier pass rushers in the league over the last half-decade plus.
You're just here to do your job. You're getting roasted.
Well, collateral damage. When Fran has to explain something, sometimes I have to be the example that he uses.
That's right. Oh, yes. It wasn't even against Ike. It's against Hughes. I'm saying he's older.
Yes. I take it.
Ike was a radio star by the time he got to his first Pro Bowl.
That's another good point.
See, there you go.
All right, let's move to the defense, shall we? Javon Hargrave.
Wow.
what a 2-game stretch for him. I mean, a career-high day on Sunday, and tonight he just was tearing it up.
And I'm not surprised because I figured he or Fletcher would start to show up in his defense. When you get a guy like Hassan Reddick playing the way that he's been playing the last few weeks, he's going to command a little more attention. So what you're seeing now, that Javon is getting a lot of one-on-one blocks. And you block this guy with one guy, it's not happening.
Good luck.
I mean, he walked this young fella back to the quarterback multiple times tonight. So the ones that even plays where he didn't get the sack, he was getting quarterback pressure on Davis Mills. Again, a one-on-one block, can't do it. Javon Hargrave reminds me so much of Darwin Walker when you just think about the strength that he plays with. The guy is so strong with his upper body and those legs, man. It's just hard to block him one-on-one.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the matchup, this was a matchup I actually talked about this week on the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast, because when the Eagles traded up back in April to select Jordan Davis at 13 overall, they were initially sitting at 15. They traded with the Houston Texans. The Texans trade back and select the offensive lineman Kenyon Green from Texas A&M. Now, Green has been a starter since day one. He's really struggled, especially these last few weeks. Last week, he had a welcome to the NFL moment going up against the Tennessee Titans. He got pushed back in the pocket a number of times, got crushed in the run game a number of times. So I wanted to see, all right, how is he going to respond going up against Hargrave? And while not all of those sacks, not all of those pressures, not all 3 of those TFLs came against Kenyon Green, a number of them did. And so it was a rough sledding there for the rookie there against Javon Hargrave.
Fran's just been a walking advertisement for his Journey to the Draft podcast.
Wherever podcasts be found.
In the kickoff show, he's telling us where people went to high school. He's digging back into college film from opposing offenses.
You know he has all this information stored in his head. He has to let it out somewhere.
Something's in there, so I got to pull it out when I need to.
All right, let's go to the secondary, okay? This looked like kind of the easier matchup for the Eagles defense tonight when the Texans were without their top 2 receivers. You thought the way Slay and Bradbury have been playing, the way Maddox and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Marcus Epps have been playing, they got this. They were tested a little bit by those receivers who took the positions of Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins, so credit to them, but also Slay and Bradbury still were able to hold them down.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those games where I'm sure both of those guys, and Bradbury got an interception tonight, right? He did get an interception tonight. So he'll feel good about that one for sure. But when you're letting receivers with the likes of, I got to call their numbers instead of their name because I don't know their names, number 4, number 15, these guys, the all-pro cornerbacks aren't going to be happy with their performance. And that's because they've set a standard as the best tandem in all of football. But I'll say this, nothing to be concerned about. No. I'll chalk this up, the whole defensive performance, because I didn't think, with the exception of Javon Hargrave, anyone stood out as far as an outstanding player on that side of the ball tonight. A lot of broken tackles, a lot of running from Dameon Pierce, where he was able to get chunk yardage against our guys. This was a short week, right? I'm not going to say that's an excuse, but I think it's a valid explanation when you start to see a little bit of sloppy play, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, because those are the guys who have to tackle. And when you work on a short week and you're going up against a physical running team like the Houston Texans with this kid, every once in a while he's going to break those arm tackles, and I saw a lot of that tonight. Yeah,
he was one of the league leaders in forced broken tackles coming into this game. And so, look, that's the way that he ran in college, and he has carried that forward here into the NFL. Dameon Pierce is a load to get to the ground. We talked about this in the kickoff show, Ella, is that he's got that ability to make you miss. Now, that doesn't excuse all of those missed tackles. Like I said, the Eagles certainly had some things to clean up, things that they will be talking about on the flight home. I'm sure plenty was discussed in the locker room at halftime, right? And so they came in, I thought the second half did a better job, but at the end of the day, just has to be a little bit more stout on contact overall against the run game.
When they've had a game like this where they are struggling a little bit to bring down a running back, and knowing what running backs are coming down the line, they have Derrick Henry that they have to face, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, we're not sure depending on the status of his health. But knowing guys like that are coming down the pike, when they're breaking down the film from this game, what are objectives to take away that can only make them better moving forward?
Well, it's about assignment football. The thing with today's league, you rarely gear your defense towards stopping the run. It's a passing league. So the personnel that you have on the field sometimes will lean more towards athletic, guys that can play in space, guys that can cover the skill position players, and you're going to be left with trying to stop the run with a 6-man box. Well, teams are going to look at the Eagles and say, we can't throw the ball against the secondary. So our best chance to have any success is to, A, run the football, to eat up clock, to keep the Eagles offense on the sideline. So you're going to get more of, I believe, a heavy dose of teams committing to the running game. So we have to get better at being assignment oriented and being in the right gaps. And when you get there to make the play, you got to put your body in front of the ball carriers. These runners are just too strong for you to expect to bring them down with just arm tackles.
Yeah, and it's just like everything else when it comes to football. I think whenever there's an issue, people say like, oh, it's this one thing. It's very rarely just one issue. I think when you look at a lot of these missed tackles, not just here in this game, but over the course of the season, it's a multifaceted approach. Sometimes it could be a bad angle one-on-one. It could be a bad job by two guys vicing the tackle with bad angles that way. Sometimes it's just bad technique. It could be just where you strike the player as opposed to going high or low on a certain ball carrier. So at the end of the day, just a lot of different little things to clean up. But you know, that's one of those things that does typically get better over the course of a season.
All right, head coach Nick Sirianni is at the podium.
Nick, a short week to come out and get a win like that. What's to say about the team?
Yeah, these Thursday night games are always tough. And so however you got to get it done, you got to go get it done. And our guys played hard. They played physical. Couple of things we talked about was making sure our bodies were as good as they could possibly be to go out and handle our business and being able to play fast. All right, so those were the two really main goals. And what I like to say is like our strength and conditioning staff, our doctors, our training staff, led by Arsh and led by Tom and led by Ted Rath, did an unbelievable job getting these guys' bodies ready to go. Guys did an unbelievable job focusing on their bodies to make sure they were in top notch so we could play a full football game. And that starts at the top of Mr. Lurie and the organization that we have. This is a top notch organization. It's the best organization I've ever been in. And Mr. Lurie is so supportive. You got so many people in place to help us do our job, and that was on full display tonight. And so I handed out 2 game balls. I don't ever hand out game balls, and Mr. Lurie got one, and Javon Hargrave got one. So. Go ahead.
We just had a Jalen upon his return to his home city.
You know what? The one thing I said to him before the game, I said, don't let this be a distraction. You're the last person I worry about with this, but don't let this be a distraction to you. And he had the same look on his face as if it didn't matter. That's who he is, and that's how he goes about his business. It was nice that I finally got to meet his family, nice people. And it was really nice to be able to meet them and put a face to the conversations that Jalen and I have. He speaks so highly of his family. But I know that felt good for him. I know that's something he can enjoy now. But he didn't approach that game any differently than he approached the Pittsburgh game, than he approached the Cowboy game. That's why he's a true professional.
Is the best start in franchise history? Is that significant to you?
Yeah, it's just the next one. At this particular point, being 8-0 is sweet, right? And it beats the alternative of being 7-1 or 6-2, right? And so we know that our goal wasn't to go 8-0. Our goal is to take one game at a time, and that's our goal. And so, is it good? Is it good to be able to have this long weekend instead of 8-0? Of course, but we know that we're going to get back to work on Monday and go attack this next game against Washington like we attacked this last game against Houston.
Nick, how tough is it physically and mentally to get a team ready for a Thursday night game and the situation we're in and all the things around this?
It's not a challenge when you have the leaders on the football team that we have and the guys on the football team that we have. We have a special group of guys that love this game, that love each other, and that are willing to sacrifice for each other to get a win. And that was on full display. And so I would say, in some circumstances it is tough, right, to go on a short week. It's not like we were on a short week and they weren't on a short. They were on a short week too. But sometimes it is tough. But not with this team and not with our leaders that we have. And it was pretty sweet that just they had the mindset all week and focus all week that Monday, our walkthrough on Monday, our walkthrough on Tuesday, our walkthrough on Wednesday, and our meetings all week. We're so dialed in, so focused that it showed today.
Could you speak to what you're seeing as far as the evolution of your passing game? I mean, early on, most of Jalen's touchdowns were coming on the ground, and now 4 weeks in a row, or 3 weeks in a row, he's throwing multiple touchdown passes, deep ball touchdown passes on a regular basis. Now, could you just...
Sure, you want to be as multiple as you can to defend, and so that's the deep game, that's the intermediate game, that's the short game, that's the screen game, that's the run game, that's the different things off the run. And so, we always want to do what we do best, and I think there's no doubt that, like, in the deep game, AJ's a special threat. He has a special ability to go up and get the football and attack the football. And it's good. It's Jalen just seeing the field well. It's the receivers making plays. It's the offensive line protecting. It takes everybody. Shane calling the right play at the right time. And the backs, I thought, particularly, I got to look at the tape this week, but particularly last week, of how good they were in protection on the 6-man, 5-man pressures. So it takes everybody, and that's what's special. That's why this is a great team game, and it just speaks to the development of Jalen and the passing game.
When you talk about the tempo offensively, especially early, Nick, is that about the short week you thinking you have an advantage, or is that opponent driven? Why?
A little bit of everything, John. I mean, you try to work some tempo. We know we have a good offense, so we want to get some plays run, right? And we know that Jalen operates well in tempo, and so when we like our package that we have in tempo, and we like the ability of Jason Kelce to be able to communicate to everybody in tempo. Again, I mean, it's just unbelievable. Like I'm assuming that our stadium at Citibank is full of Philly fans, but I didn't think that this would be full of Eagles fans here. Again, the crowd completely took over the game. Again, just like Arizona, just like Washington. I'm starting to think we're not playing any away games. Goodness gracious! And even the people that held the flag out of the game that were wearing the Houston Texans shirts. I mean, they were wearing red, so I thought they were just Philly shirts. So they could have been Philly fans. I don't know. But again, so much credit goes to our fans, the best fans in the world, to come out here and support this team on the road in Houston on a Thursday night when the Phillies are playing. And I know they're watching that game too. We have an update. What's going on over there?
It's starting out. It's going to the ninth.
Going into the ninth, 3-2. So again, you're not able to go tempo always if the crowd's rowdy, and the crowd is rowdy for us. And I mean, that's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I can't say enough. I can't say enough about this city and its fans and the way that we traveled. And man, I tried to say a thank you to as many of them as I possibly could. I would love to. I'd love to have a drink or high five every one of them. But obviously, there's too many of them in the stands for me to do that. So I said thank you to as many of them. But thank you, Philly fans. Thank you, everybody in attendance. Thank you for the support. Unbelievable.
Nick, Dallas had 8 catches on 9 targets, which is just kind of common for him to have that kind of level of efficiency. What makes him such an efficient player in the passing game?
We showed a clip yesterday from Friday Night Lights, and they were explaining Dallas Carter, right? And that during it, he said they're big, they're fast, they're mean, they're strong, and they're fast, right? And the guy from what is the name of that school? Permian. He was explaining what Dallas Carter is, and that's a good explanation of who Dallas Goedert is. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's mean, he's fast, right? And that's why he's so productive. And you're just seeing his game elevate. I hope what everyone is seeing on these nationally televised games is what we see every day in practice and what we've seen consistently through this past 2 years, that Dallas Goedert deserves attention for being one of the best tight ends in the NFL. You got Jason's brother, who obviously is unbelievable. Travis is unbelievable, and then I love Dallas Goedert, and he deserves to be in the conversation of the best tight ends in this league.
What can you say about Gardner Johnson and how he just seems to get an interception every time y'all take the field?
Shoot, man, it's to have a guy who's a ball hawk back there, in addition to other guys that are ball hawks with our corners. Man, that's huge, and it's just you shift a game at any time. That shifted that game. That catch shifted the game and our momentum, and it wasn't an easy catch. And he's looking at me like, you need to put me on offense. And we got some good wideouts, so I don't know if we're there quite yet, but I know he's going to catch it if he does. And that's what you fear as an offensive coach. Speaking as an offensive coach, that's what you fear, that when you make a mistake, that a guy can make you pay. And we got a bunch of those guys out there in the secondary, and Chauncey is definitely one of them. Does anybody else have anyone? So I got nowhere else to go. The bus ain't leaving without me.
All right. Is Jalen coming in, or is that it?
It's a happy head coach right there. 8-0, first time in franchise history. A lot of players in this team to be proud of. But I want to go back to when he mentioned Shane Steichen. We talked a little bit about him at the beginning of the show. When the season began, it was kind of was it just a storyline that Jalen Hurts hadn't had 2 consecutive seasons with the same staff? Is it all just kind of fluff, right? But to see their relationship grow, whether it be Hurts and Sirianni or Hurts and Steichen, I think we're starting to see kind of the benefits of Hurts having, consistency from a coaching staff.
Yeah, and he's definitely benefiting from a coaching staff that has been able to put an offense around his skill set and find a comfort zone and a comfort level in which he can operate so that they can get the most out of him. This wasn't the offense I believe they came here with from their respective former teams. But when you got a quarterback like Jalen Hurts that has the skill set that he has, you're going to have to make some tweaks in order to get the most out of him. And that's what they've done. And you got to give a lot of credit to Shane Steichen and obviously Nick Sirianni, who has input on the offense for what they've been able to do starting with last year. We know the offense looked one way early in the season, and they made some adjustments, started running the football, but then they added to that this offseason. And then give Jalen the credit for putting in the work to make the offense look like what it's looking now. So it's not just the X's and the O's that they have drawn up. It's his ability to run the offense effectively. When you have this RPO and you're reading the linebacker, right? They broke the play down again tonight, and it's a beautiful breakdown of what Jalen is looking at. So if that linebacker decides he wants to try to defend the run, they're going to throw a slant in behind him to A.J. Brown. So no matter what the backer does, he's wrong. It's just based on if Jalen reads it correctly and either gives the ball to Miles, keeps it himself, or gets the ball out there to A.J. Brown. And we haven't seen a defense yet that's figured out how you slow this offense down.
That's the thing, is that they showed that graphic during the broadcast just talking about his efficiency and his improvement over the course of his career, his completion percentage in 2020 to 2021 to 2022, and obviously a huge jump all 3 years. The only other starter in the NFL to make that same jump being Josh Allen. But it's a twofold discussion, right? Because it's not just the coaching staff and the system, but it's also, obviously, like you said, like, you give a lot of credit to Jalen, the work he's done to get better and everything he's done to hone in on his craft. And so going out and executed a highly schemed offense, huge. That's obviously very, very important, but also the plays that Jalen has made, the throws that he has made, the throws that he made to A.J. Brown over the shoulder, down the right sideline, 25 yards downfield, that's not a schemed throw. That's a perfect bucket throw. Any quarterback in the NFL, you're hoping can make that throw, right? So I think that's just big time from Jalen. Huge improvement on his part.
And let's not understate the importance of the level of talent that's around him.
Yeah.
I mean, when you put playmakers around him with this level of ability, it's going to increase what you do on the offensive side of the ball. It's not saying that he doesn't have the ability and talent within himself, but when you look at A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders in the backfield, this offensive line does a great job in the run game and passing game. It allows Jalen to stay within the framework of the offense. What happens with so many young quarterbacks, particularly on teams that aren't very good, is that the talent around them isn't very good, and he gets into a lot of bad habits, whether it's throwing the football or whether it's decision-making out there. And what you're seeing with Jalen is that he seems to play calm and collected because he doesn't feel the need to have to play hero football. And I think that just allows the offense to operate with efficiency.
You look at a lot of young quarterbacks around the NFL, when they've been given a good weapon, how much they've been able to grow.
Yeah.
Tua with now Tyreek Hill, Josh Allen with Stephon Diggs. Even Patrick Mahomes always played, obviously, with Tyreek Hill, but he's had other weapons as well. It is important, and it's a credit to a front office who invests in that quarterback because you only know how good your quarterback is when you give him the resources to play.
Yeah, the days of asking a quarterback just to carry the team because he's a high draft pick or you pay him a lot of money. This league is filled with too much talent on the defensive side of the ball in order for him to be successful and to have sustained success. So the more that you can pair high-level talent with each other, it's going to bring the best out of all the guys around them. And they've done a great job of constructing this offense with players. There's not many, if any, misses on that side of the football. And I mean young guys with a bright future ahead of them.
And that's the thing, I remember even still like growing up, John Elway with Rod Smith and Ed McCaffrey, and you had Joe Montana and Steve Young with Jerry Rice and Bill Walsh, and you had Peyton Manning with Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. Like all those great quarterbacks with great coaching staffs and with great sets of weapons. That's a recipe for greatness offensively. And right now, this is a great offense in the NFL, and all of these pieces are involved.
We have a tweet. Let's see what we have. They're telling me we have a tweet. What do we got?
Tweet. Love a tweet.
Got a tweet or a Facebook?
What do we got? Oh, it's an Ask Ike. Here we go. Who is your Eagles defensive MVP
question.
as of now?
Wow.
Eagles
I tell you what.
Man, that's a good one.
I tell you one guy who's making it hard. That's C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You know, the fact that he has 4 straight interceptions and 5 overall. I know he's playing back there in that safety position, and he's not getting sometimes the recognition of some of the guys up front. But that's a guy that's taking the football away from the offense, and that always gives you some added bonuses when you're a defensive player. I would have to say it's between 3 players. I would go Hassan Reddick. I would go Big Play Slay.
Gotta be Slay, yeah.
I would go Big Play Slay, and I would go Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Love that. Can I throw a stat at you? Because I didn't find this until late this week. We used it on the kickoff show earlier today. The Eagles defense right now forcing a league-low completion percentage in the middle of the field between the hash marks, 57.1%. That is the best in the NFL, again, defending the middle of the field. So C.J. Gardner-Johnson, obviously a big part of that, but T.J. Edwards, again, made some plays in coverage today that were outstanding. Kaiser White, you broke those guys down on Eagles game plan this week, what they can do in the middle of the field. You've got, obviously, Marcus Epps working the middle, Avonte Maddox working the middle. Just all of those guys in tandem being able to do what they've done. It's a huge part of this defensive success.
Can I put Bradbury and Slay together?
Yeah, I think
I had to think about that. I'm like, that's the best tandem in all of football. Yeah. Bradbury got another interception tonight. So, you know, he's the quiet assassin over there. Slay does a lot of the talking. But I almost have to put those two together when you look at, you just said it, opposing quarterbacks, their QBRs, their quarterback ratings, and the completion percentage, all that against this secondary. Right. My goodness, best secondary in football.
Well, it's like what we were talking about with the offense, because it's that you had that great completion percentage in the middle of the field, but then if you look at all the metrics, like the 2 corners are outstanding, right. The pressure's outstanding. You add in Robert Quinn into the mix, like it's a good defense, right? It's a really good defense.
It is. It's good. Yep. It's good.
Well, keep getting your questions in to Ike on the Facebook comments. That was a good one. So Eagles fans, the bar is set high. I thought what was interesting though, most of the guys that you just said, Hassan Reddick, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, then James Bradbury, they are new additions to this defense. Yeah. Even Darius Slay himself, this is only his 2nd year under Nick Sirianni. He's been here for 3. So I think that's impressive when we talk about the pieces and adding talent, and, you know, certain players can be better given more and more weapons around them. The defense is a perfect example of that, and the way Howie has built this defense through the offseason.
And I continue to be amazed at how well they play together.
Right.
You know, when you look at units that usually play this well, they've been together for a while. Yeah. At least the majority of the defense has. And in this case, a lot of these guys, this is their first year in this system playing with each other. So the chemistry isn't necessarily where it's going to be when you get later in the season, and look how well they're playing already. It's rare that you see mental errors out there. Every once in a while, you'll see somebody come free, and you're just like, okay, somebody had to have blown a coverage. But it's rare that it happens. And the things that JG is able to do up front with his pressure packages, he's doing a great job of having this defensive line and secondary play complementary defense with each other. It's a beautiful thing to watch, man. We've complained for years about getting playmakers on defense, and now they have the most playmakers in the league on defense. Mm-hmm. The fact that Javon Hargrave has gotten like 5 sacks in the last 2 weeks.
5 days, yeah.
Yeah, it's like 5 sacks. I'm like, my goodness. You know, he's been quiet for a while. You know, Hassan takes the week off, and now Javon is out here getting sacks everywhere.
Yeah, and then in the back end, like you said, the communication, and that started from week 1. You look at the play of Avonte Maddox. I remember his interception he had against the Minnesota Vikings. Some of the plays they had that led to sacks in week 3 against Washington. And again, that's involving some of these new players, Kaiser White, Bradbury, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, all of those guys working together. Marcus Epps, his first full year as a starter. And, you know, one thing they like to say about zone-heavy schemes is all the defenders moving on a string. So one guy moves, and at the same exact time, another guy rotates at the same pacing, at the same timing, just throwing off the rhythm of a quarterback, both pre-snap and post-snap. We are seeing that time and time again from the Eagles defense.
And it doesn't just happen by accident.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They are putting in the time. They're putting in the extra film work, watching film together, going over assignment football. making calls in the meeting rooms as if they're out on the field practicing with each other. You can tell that they put the extra work in to make sure that they button this thing up. And that's when players realize they have the potential of having something special, because now they're invested. They've decided we're going to put the time in so that we can be the best that we can be. And each guy on that side of the football has something individually that they want to accomplish as a player in this league, whether it be a new contract or what have you. And now they all are also working for a common goal, which is they're starting to believe that they could be champions. They know they have a long way to go and a lot of work to do, but you can tell, man, you don't play this well together this early if you haven't put in the extra time to prepare, to get ready.
Throughout the week when I'm in the locker room, too, you would never know who's a new addition, who just got here. C.J. Gardner-Johnson started the season in New Orleans. Besides maybe the volume of items in a locker room, Robert Quinn's is a little more empty than, say, Brandon Graham's.
Right.
Other than that, it's like all of these guys have been playing ball together for years.
And that's a sign of a good culture.
I was just going to say that word. Yep.
Yeah, and I start on that side of the ball with BG and Fletcher. They're the two longest tenured players on the defensive side of the ball. They know what it's like to put that ring on your finger and have that confetti come down. And so they've earned the respect of these players around the league who've watched them play for a decade plus. That's where it's the benefit of being the old guy in the room, is because you've earned the respect of all your teammates. They've seen what you've done. And as long as you're putting the work in yourself, they're going to follow you. And that's a sign of a good culture in the locker room, and it starts with those two guys.
And that was something Robert Quinn said when he first got here, right? Was it Fletcher Cox that went to him and said, hey, man, like, first thing he said, we practice hard here. And he said, say no more. It just really kind of sets the tone. And that's what you want. You want that peer leadership, the guys in the locker room kind of setting that tone, preaching the message of the coaching staff, where it doesn't need to come from the coaches. It's the guys policing themselves in the locker room when you have those veterans on offense and on defense. Because offensively, I mean, those guys, it's Kelsey and Lane Johnson. Those guys have been here. But then you also have those young guys mixed in, Jalen and Devontae. Those guys come from winning programs. They know what it takes as well. And so having those guys that can preach that message, so important, and a big reason why this team is 8-0.
And they're the nucleus to this locker room, to the offense or to the defense, because you talk about how important new additions are to the football field, but keeping those core guys, the Brandon Grahams, the Fletcher Cox, the Jason Kelce's, we talk about them all the time. But it is so important to maintain players like that, both from the football side of it, but also from building a culture here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, and those are your tone setters. Those are the guys that know what it means to be a Philadelphia Eagle. Guys that were drafted here, guys that have seen the good days and some bad days and have come back to see better days, right? So what better examples can you have in your locker room for a young player that you draft or a free agent that you bring in here than to say Jason Kelce, Fletcher Cox, Lane Johnson, Brandon Graham. Those are pillars in this community, great ambassadors for this organization. And when you want to know what it means to be an Eagle and how the standard is to be an Eagle around here, those are the four guys you look to.
And also credit to the front office and coaching staff as well, because understanding which of those guys are you going to keep, which of those guys are you going to move on from, who is going to be a part of your next great team. Those are the conversations you have every time you kind of rebuild and reload a football team. And when the team made a coaching change a couple of years ago, all of those discussions are had, right? Or who is going to still be here for us the next time we are contending for a title? And all of these guys are contributing in a big way to this team's success.
If we want to look ahead a little bit, it's kind of interesting the way the schedule unfolds. The previous week or two and then going ahead in the next week or two. They had the bye week and then played Pittsburgh. It was a quick week to play Houston. Now they're going to have off this weekend. There is no football for the Eagles on Sunday, as well as next weekend, because they don't play again until Monday Night Football. So for some of the guys who maybe need some rest, we talk about these vets, a lot of tread on the tires for them. They're going to have 2 weekends to really recover before they play the Commanders on Monday Night Football. So kind of an advantage for the Eagles, the way the past few weeks have kind of unfolded for them. And it's looking like it's in their favor as we move forward here.
Yeah, their biggest competitor will be themselves, making sure they don't become complacent, right? You gotta allow yourself to stay locked in and have your goals that you've set for yourself. Keep your head down. There's gonna be a lot of well-wishing and patting on the back from all the fans, as what happens when your team is the last remaining unbeaten team in the league. but you have your own goals. And so you got to make sure you keep that noise blocked out and stay locked in. And we just talked about the leadership that's on this team. They know what it takes to win a championship. So I feel comfortable that they'll be able to lead by example, and also if anything needs to be corrected or checked, they have the ability to explain themselves to whomever they feel they need to do that to get everything back in line. So I like that. That's what good veteran leadership is. But their biggest issue will be, fighting off all the praises and the adulation that comes when you're playing well.
With every single week, that's only going to grow and grow. And not only that, too, but the urgency with which other teams are trying to unseat you will only grow and grow and grow. So the Eagles took the Texans' best shot tonight. They're going to get Washington's best shot 2 Mondays from now, the Colts the week after that. And so you're going to continue to get teams that are saying, you know what, we're going to be the team that's going to give them that first L. And so the Eagles have to be ready to take those shots. Now, this has been a start-fast team for a large majority of this season. You get those fast starts, that can kind of cool the jets of those opponents a little bit and say, all right, well, here we go again. This team is just too good. But at the end of the day, you've got to be able to withstand that adversity here in this season.
And it all starts with Jalen Hurts at the helm. We're going to hear from him now at the podium.
Yeah, I know you said that this is a business trip first and foremost, but not often do you go on a business trip and get to see your family. What was it like to come back here and to perform like that in front of them?
Yeah, I think anytime I get to come back to the city of Houston is special, and this is the first time I've ever played back home at the professional level, collegiate level. Never got the opportunity to do it at the collegiate level, so coming back, playing in a place where I've built a lot of memories. With my mom, my dad, coming to watch ball in this same stadium. Of all things, it's a great team win. And there's rarity in me reflecting on things and not having emotion towards it. But I'm proud that my family got to see that today. I'm proud my dad got to see that, and I know that's special to him because my family knows the memories that we've had with the Houston Texans, and just being around and being involved in the camps, and the Andre Johnson, and him giving me his cleats as a kid, and those are our memories that I value truly. And to come home and get a win in this city is special.
Did you give yourself a moment to really reflect on it, either before or after the game?
No, I really didn't. It hit me when I was riding in the city and I wasn't going home. I was going to the hotel, and it's just a special moment. It's a special experience, and I wouldn't want to experience it with any other group of men,
You would think it would be human nature to kind of have a little more amped upness, or whatever you want to call it. How do you stay away from that and just kind of stay the course?
I just really focus on the things that I can control. You know what I mean? Nothing else really mattered. I know I would have a lot of supporters here, in which I value and I appreciate, and I just want to make them proud, make the city proud, city of Houston and the city of Philly proud. And just controlling the things that I can.
You spoke about memories here. What do you think the moment tonight's going to be the biggest memory from this one?
Being able to get a win. I think about this game, and I just said it up there at the podium talking with the Thursday night crew. There's a lot to be grateful about. There's a lot to reflect on and look at the things that we did well. There's also a lot of things that we can improve on. And I know, I'm not going to make excuses about anything or the short week. We have a standard of play. We want to play to that at all times. So it's a learning experience for us. It's a formative experience that'll only build us up. And I truly think the only direction is to rise. Personally, playing in the city of Houston and being the first time playing it back home, that's a special moment for me personally. I think the job is still not done. And, I talk about there never being an arrival and there only being a journey. and that's something that I embrace. That's something that his football team embraces, the journey of what's ahead, the journey of daily deposits and daily improvement and daily efforts to be the best football team we can be, and that's the only thing we want to do. So it's all about the standard, playing to that standard and then raising the standard.
I know y'all have a lot more work to do, but what does it mean to be 8-0 for the first time in franchise history?
Yeah, it's I know it's special for the city of Philadelphia, and I mean I've been 8-0 before and lost the national championship, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, just take it day by day, you know what I'm saying? Take it day by day. We haven't accomplished anything yet, and it's just it's a day by day thing of us controlling the things we can, playing to our standard, and trying to grow every day. I think that's truly what it's about.
Texas head coach Lovie Smith said that he thinks that you're one of the most improved players, if not the most improved player in the NFL this year. What does that mean to you coming from an opposing coach like that?
Yeah, I respect his opinion. I work to improve every offseason. I work to improve every offseason, and the work shows in due time. And it's a great team effort for us to come out here and battle through these types of wins. You got CD making big time plays on the back end, getting us momentum, getting us a short field. You got Hargraves having a career day, So while I've made improvement and while I put the work in, it's only a reflection of what we've done as a football team. Everybody's put the work in, and I think for us to be where we are, that's showing. So yeah, there's still more work to be put in. There's more work to be done, and I can only smile for so long. You know what I mean? I'm hungry for it, and we're gonna keep going.
You had big plays last week, and then tonight you had an 18-play drive, 10-play scoring drive. What to say about this team that can play those different styles?
Yeah, I truly believe. I feel like we can. We have the ability to be able to play different types of ball, different type of ball in different situations in the game. I made the reference to your favorite steakhouse or seafood spot or whatever it is, the high-end one. You have your fish of the day. You have the chef's choice, whatever it is. I feel like we can show up and run the ball effectively, throw the ball effectively, kind of do both. It just kind of depends on what that, what that flow of the game is looking like, and that's a testament to our players, how we prepare, and then our coaches putting us in good positions. And I feel like we definitely could have done I feel like we could have done some things to kind of create more advantageable plays in terms of our execution and how we kind of responded to certain things. But nonetheless, as a team, we responded to everything that was thrown to us in one way or another. And I'm always happy to leave with a win.
Two more. Could you describe the improvement you're seeing or experiencing in the passing?
I haven't seen you in a minute. It's good to see you.
Thanks for taking my question. The improvement you've seen in the passing game the last couple of weeks. You've had 3 straight games with multiple touchdown passes, 4 to AJ the last 2 weeks. Just the evolution of that aspect of your offense.
Yeah, I think it's the work we put in the off season. We truly prepare for this. We prepare for it, and I've never been one to mind myself of anyone else's expectations for me. It's about my standard, and it's about what I desire to go out there and do on the field. And I feel like we set a precedent for what we want to accomplish as an offense, and it's still yet to be there. It's still yet to be attained. But it's the work we put in. It's the friendship we create, the camaraderie we create, and going out there and truly playing for each other, truly communicating and trying to get on the same page about things. And that takes a great diligence, and I think that's a special thing about this offensive group and this football team.
Jalen, the Astros just won another World Series game. I wondered how much you've been keeping up with that and what you think about the World Series.
I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. Y'all gonna do this to me forever.
Tight end Dallas Goedert was asked about Jalen Hurts making his return to Houston in the locker room. Here's what he had to say.
Is it a meaningful game for Jalen. Did you notice anything about his demeanor, man, in the huddle, or
he was pretty much the same. I feel like every game is a meaningful game for him. I know he came back home, wanted to show out in front of his hometown, things like that. He definitely did. But shoot, it seems like every week he just gets better and better. He commands the offense like nobody I've ever seen. So it's fun playing with him.
Were you curious at all?
We've been talking about Miles Sanders all night and the incredible game he had tonight in Houston. So earlier today, Fran Duffy broke down Miles Sanders' play from the first half in this week's Ricoh Review.
All right, so this week here for the Ricoh Review, I want to rewind back to the second quarter and look at this touchdown drive that put the Eagles ahead 14-7. And one of the catalysts of that drive was running back Miles Sanders. He had 2 explosive run plays to start this possession, and the second one went for 25 yards, one of my favorite run plays in football, the wham play. Let's take a look at exactly what makes this one go. What makes it a wham play? Well, it's a wham block from the tight end. Now, tight ends, you typically think in the run game, they're going to block on a linebacker, maybe a defensive end. But here on this play, you're going to see the tight end block a defensive tackle. And you would think, well, that's a matchup that's going to be in favor of the defense every single time. But with angles and the element of surprise, tight ends are able to win this matchup. Now, before the snap of the football, you could see that the tight end actually came in motion, and we missed it here on this camera shot from the broadcast crew. But he came in short motion and lined up here. So this defensive tackle doesn't really have time to think that, this tight end might be trying to earhole me here. But that's exactly what happens. The tight end's going to come down and block the defensive tackle. Now, one of the other benefits of this block is that because the defensive tackle is blocked by the tight end, that means that both Jason Kelce and Landon Dickerson don't need to block that defensive tackle, and now they can both get up to the second level with free access to the linebackers and safeties. So we're going to let this play go for just a second, let these blocks develop, and you're going to see a great block at the point of attack from the tight end. You're going to get a kick out from Jordan Mailata here on the defensive end. Zach Pascal's working down on a safety. You can see that Landon Dickerson, he's working here on this backer. Jason Kelce already doing work on the backside linebacker. And so that means that Miles Sanders is going to be left one-on-one with a corner up in space. That's a rookie corner in Derek Stingley. And one of the other things I love most about the wham play, it is a well-defined alley for the running back. It is a quick-hitting run, and often what you see is the running back often looks like he is shot out of a cannon as soon as he gets the ball because the hole is so well-defined, a very clear open track for the ball carrier. And you can see Miles Sanders takes this handoff, and he explodes through the line of scrimmage, 25 yards, gets the Eagles into Houston territory, and helps set up a go-ahead touchdown in the second quarter.
Now is your chance to vote for the Toyota Player of the Week. Go to PhiladelphiaEagles.com/Toyota Player of the Week to cast your vote and get a chance at a brand new Toyota. All right, fellas, here we go. 3 nominees for the week. We're starting off with the defense. C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Another interception to just add it to the stretch of games he's been playing. Way to go for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Next up, Dallas Goedert, 100 yards on the day for the tight end, 8 receptions, averaging 12.5 yards per catch, and that touchdown. And lastly, Javon Hargrave, that fourth quarter sack. He was playing to the very, very end. What do we think, guys?
Well, I mean, listen, you got an interception, you got 3 sacks and 3 tackles for losses. Defense played great, but I got to go with Dallas Goedert. I mean, let's face it, big fella was awesome tonight. 8 catches on 9 targets, 100 yards. Travis Kelce, George Kittle, somebody's knocking on the door. Dallas Goedert.
I mean, 100 yards happens in this offense every week. 3 sacks, 3 TFLs. Let's go with the Gravedigger. Let's go Javon Hargrave. I like Hargrave here to get the Toyota game ball.
It was Goddard's only 4th 100-yard game, so he's done it before.
Yep. Right.
But not this is not his norm, right? 100 yards. So pretty impressive.
Man, it's 100 yards, Fran, for a tight end.
It's big time.
Pretty good, man.
He's up on the board. He made it to the medal ceremony.
Hasn't Javon won player of the game before this year? Did he get it?
I don't know because you pick an offensive player every week.
Because I'm trying to make sure we stay balanced on this show.
Yeah, you're balanced all the time. You're picking receivers left and right.
All right, Jameson Nightcap. Let's head there. Like we said, little mini bye this weekend for the Eagles. Again, next weekend. And then it's Monday Night Football. The Commanders are coming to town. We don't know who's going to be playing quarterback. Could Carson Wentz make a return? Might be unlikely.
It might be best he waits for another week.
It's going to be Taylor Heineke, okay? He's been playing pretty well for the Commanders. They're 4-4. They are at the bottom of the NFC East, but the NFC East is no joke this year.
How about that? Every team 500 or better. And I thought the NFC East would be better than most people predicted it would be this year. I didn't think it would be this good. The Giants have surprised me a little bit, how well they played. But I thought the Eagles and the Cowboys would be the cream of this division. I still think in the end, that's who it's going to be, one of those two teams.
And no Carson Wentz likely for this game, but Chase Young looks like he's getting closer and closer. So I think they'll be getting their young, promising defensive end who hasn't really played healthy for a year plus. And so that will be one to watch there as his potential return for that game.
A little bit of a different team than the Eagles have faced earlier in the season. It was Wentz. Chase Young wasn't there. Brian Robinson wasn't quite playing yet. So it's going to be a little bit of a different of a matchup, but should be a good one Monday Night Football.
Yeah, and, Taylor Heineke, whether it was Carson or Taylor, we saw what they did with Wentz the first time they played. I think 9 sacks in that game. Taylor Heineke, he's feisty, he's scrappy. I just don't think it's enough there. You put him up against this defensive front, man, they feast on quarterbacks like this.
We'll just have to go back and check the tape. It was a 9-sack performance. I'm sure there was an offensive player that
I'm sure.
I did. I gave it to Devontae Smith.
That's right.
All right, that's enough.